How are you feeling today? How's your belly? How's your Gtube? Is it feeling better? Is it feeling better? Give baby a kiss. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. See, how's your Gtube? Let's see. Will you show us? Ouchie, huh? Ouchie. Let's put your shirt down. You okay? You still hurt? I know, baby. Oh, you're so sweet. Hi guys, welcome back to week 6 of 1 teaspoon at a time. So we had a week this week. Cadence's Gtube fell out on Monday, and so I went to work. Typically what happens is in the morning I leave for work at about 5:30. I always check her. I make sure that like her spout for the Gtube hasn't opened, that she's not wet, that everything's okay, and that her Gtube is still in. So when I left, everything was fine. I get a call at about 7:30 from my mom, and she was very calm, and she's like, "Hey, Cadence's Gtube came out." And I'm thinking, what? What do you mean? And she's like, yeah, her Gtube is out. Like, it's hanging from her feeding tube. And I'm like, did you wake up Richard? And my husband. She's like, yeah, and he can't get it back in. I'm like, okay, well, I'm leaving now. So I just booked it. I took off. I left work. I left work. I came straight over here home. And my mom had already got her ready to go to the hospital, so we took her to Kaiser's Sunset, which is in Hollywood. Mind you, I told my mom, my mom called me at 7:30. We didn't get to Kaiser until 9, and so we get her checked in at the ER, and they have to dilate her Gtube like site area because it had already started closing. So Gtubes start to close within 24 hours. I don't know between what time, 5:30 and 7:30, her Gtube had fallen out. But by the time we got to Kaiser Sunset, it was already about 9:30. By the time we'd seen the doctor, it was probably like 10 or 10:30. So it had been about 5 hours since the Gtube could have fallen out. So they had to dilate her stomach. The doctor was very rude. He came in and he was like, who did her Gtube site? Who placed her Gtube? And I said, you did. And he was like, oh, okay. When did she get her Gtube in? I said, at 3 weeks. And he was like, so how old is she now? I said 14 months. And he was like, so you guys don't know how to put a Gtube in? And first of all, we learned how to put her Gtube in at 3 months. I've been doing her Gtube myself at home since then. Second off, it's not even his business. I don't understand why he needs to be so condescending. But anyways, so I told him, no, her Gtube came out during the night, and when we tried to put it back in, it wouldn't go in. And so he seen the site and he was like, oh yeah, it's starting to close. We're gonna have to dilate it. And so that's what they did, and it was a very traumatic experience. So any Gtube moms, if your child's Gtube comes out in the middle of the night, make sure as soon as you notice, try to put that Gtube in because it is painful. Picture when you are getting your ears stretched and you have to put the gauges in to stretch the skin out. That's basically what they're doing to your child's Gtube site. So it's very painful. It's very traumatic for both the child and the parent. So I just want to forewarn you here. So they fixed that. We got her home. It was an in and out procedure. We were in the ER for about 5 hours. They had to do x-rays. So they put the Gtube in after they dilate it, and then they put a special dye inside of your Gtube extension here. They'll fill it with water, and then they put a special dye in here, and then they take an x-ray of that just to make sure that when they place the Gtube back in after dilation, it went into the stomach and not into like the outer layer of the stomach. So they want to make sure that when you're feeding, everything is good. And so when I got home, I didn't understand because we had just changed Cadence's Gtube 1 month ago. And so typically you change the water every month. The water wasn't due to be changed yet, and so it shouldn't have really evaporated that quickly. I didn't understand, like, I thought maybe it had a leak or something like that, and that's why like it got loose enough to come out. And so when I blew up the Gtube that she had in her tummy, it was crooked. And so I'm going to show you guys here. So this is the one that was in her stomach that had come out. So you can see that on this one side, it's a lot less than what it is on this side, and that's not right. So I'm thinking that it came out of her stomach through this side. I'll show you guys what a correct Gtube should look like. See how that one is even on all sides? That's what it should have been, but for some reason, the one that was in her belly, it wasn't even. It somehow got lopsided. And so I think it was just a defective Gtube, and that's what caused it at night. Sometimes she rolls over and the Gtube kind of like rolls beneath her, and so maybe I'm thinking that it kind of came out that way, because when my mom got there at 7:30, it was already hanging out. Sorry. But anyway, so that's what happened on Monday. And so since then, her area has been really sensitive. We haven't really tried to mess with it that much. We've been putting in her Gtube once a day and then just taping it onto her and then feeding her through that. And then again, we take her a shower at night. We clean the area because it does have like the blood and pus. We have to treat it like when she first got it in. So we've been doing it that way. But other than that, it's been okay. She hasn't really been eating. On Friday, when we were supposed to go to OT, we were getting out the door, and as we were getting out, she was trying to go to the restroom and she ended up throwing up again. So I just got furious because I've been requesting that they change her formula. I know that it's the formula that's like making her stomach upset. She cries at night sometimes, like in her sleep. I know she's uncomfortable. And so I've been emailing the doctors, and I feel like they're not really like listening to me. And so on Friday when that happened, like I had just had enough. And so I emailed her doctor, her GI doctor, who is the one that is in charge of giving her a different type of formula. And I let him know that she is still throwing up. I give her the medicine, Enulose. If you've watched any previous vlogs of mine or videos, you'll know that he prescribed us the Enulose to help with like her constipation and stuff once they switched the formula. But even so, she's still having like the throw up episodes here and there. And I emailed her OT to let her know, like, you know what, we're not going. This is what's going on. Like, we're basically at step 1. Like, she won't take anything. She's still throwing up. I don't know what to do. I'm getting really discouraged. Like, it was a day on Friday. I had a really bad day. It was really, really hard because I know that it's the formula, and I just feel like I'm not being heard by the doctors, and it's very frustrating. So anyways, her GI doctor emailed me back, and he said that he's going to switch her formula. So finally, after all of my complaining, he finally switches her formula. I think it's been like a month already. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a while. And so when I spoke to her OT, she was even on board with me, saying that the Nutrin 1.0 is like way too thick and way too advanced for her age, and that I need to email her pediatrician and like just kind of basically make a big stink about it. For you moms who are having a hard time being heard by your doctors, just be persistent. That's the best advice that I can give you, is just continue to email, to call, to be persistent, and to let them know, like get your point across to them, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, you know. They don't know what's going on with your child. You know what's best for your child. You're with your child 24/7. They only know what you tell them. And so if you continue to be persistent and you push for the things that you feel like, you know, that motherly instinct, listen to it, listen to your gut, and just continue to push above and above. And, you know, we are our children's advocates. They don't have a voice, and we have to be their voice. And so, you know, it's our responsibility to speak up for them. But anyways, that was my rant. And that's basically what happened this week. Is Cadence has reverted again. She's back to like taking very little. She takes like her mesh feeder, her strawberries, and cut up bananas and stuff like that. But as far as like purees and stuff, she's not really taking it. So we got our formula switched to Nutrin 1.0 to Nutrin Junior. her Gtube came out and we had to get it dilated, and so now we are taking extra precautions to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But just be forewarned, parents, with Gtubes, the doctor said it happens all the time. So, you know, always keep an extra Gtube kit on hand, and I'll show you ours. I ordered an extra one, and I say here when I need to change it so that I know. Just keep one of these on hand just in case anything happens, so that you can just put that Gtube in as soon as you realize that it's out, because having it dilated is it's traumatizing. All of our updates this week. Cadence is doing good otherwise. She's feeling a lot better after getting the Gtube changed out and dilated. She's not as sore today, so that's really good. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week, hopefully with better updates. Bye.